This is the NFL Play Football Podcast, and I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America. The NFL celebrates youth and high school football year-round through camps, activities, NFL flag, and tackle leagues. The Play Football Initiative provides a fun and engaging experience for players of all ages and skill levels, equipping young people with key life skills that are building blocks to success on and off the field. Hey everyone, it's Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and we're continuing our tour across America honoring the Don Shula Award nominees. We're talking to all of the winners from the teams this year, the Coach of the Year, and right now we're in the state of Minnesota. Going to bring in Chris Mensen, the head coach at Simley High School, the Vikings Coach of the Year. And he also won a state championship along the way this year. And Coach is on the line right now to talk about a fantastic year, the award, and everything going on within his program. Thanks for taking the time, Coach.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, in preparing for the interview with you, I saw one story about you that I wanted to start with because I think it's very, very interesting. And it talked about culture. Now, everybody talks about culture these days, but one of the things that I didn't tell you before I started rolling some tape here is I'm a huge high school wrestling fan. Growing up in Pennsylvania, we know how to wrestle there, and we know Minnesota does as well. And Simley, the high school there, is a big, big power when it comes to high school wrestling. 15 state champs. You win your first high school football championship there. So kind of, sharing the glory with the wrestling team. And my question is this. I'm sure you had to do something to improve the culture there where you're a wrestling school and now you're becoming a football school. How did you do that?
Jeff, I think it really started in the weight room for us. The wrestling program has a culture where they all work together in the weight room. They work out 5-6 times a week. And I sat down with our athletic director, Will Short, who's also the head wrestling coach, and just kind of talked to him about his plan and how he gets his guys committed and bought into the weight room. And I use a lot of those same ideas. We work out together. We try to make sure we stick to the same program day after day, week after week. And it allows us to build that brotherhood in the weight room, and then it translates into the football field as well. I'll say that when you sweat together, when you work together, things just have a way of working out in the field as well.
Yeah, and years ago, I became friends with David Alexander, former NFL lineman who's been coaching in Oklahoma now, high school football, and we began this conversation about wrestling. Trust me, we're going to talk a little bit more football here, but I want to kind of blend it together because what Dave and I spoke about was how wrestling is so good for football. He loved going in and stealing a wrestler here or there from the wrestling room and all that. And I just wanted to get your take on the comparisons between the two sports and why football coaches, not just Alexander, there's a lot I've talked to over the years that say, wrestlers make great football players and vice versa, by the way. So I wanted to know what your take is on that.
Oh, I 100% agree. Wrestlers are tough. They're gritty. They know what it takes to win in a fight. And they know how to bring people together as well. Wrestling is very much an individual sport, but they still have to be a part of a team and work together day in and day out. And I love that atmosphere and that aspect of what wrestling can bring. Football, we need all kinds of different athletes. We need tall guys to go up and get a pass like a basketball player. We need shorter, quicker guys to go out and, run the ball around the edge like a soccer player or a wrestler. And wrestling just brings that kind of that edge, and I've got a good relationship with our wrestling program. He gives me a lot of his guys, and I send him a lot of my big guys to work on their hips and their footwork and their toughness. And it's been a good give and take relationship over the last couple of years.
Beautiful. Chris Mensen is on the line, the Minnesota Vikings Coach of the Year. He's now a finalist for the Don Shula Award. And Coach, let's talk about when you kind of think that your program, the football players, kind of caught on to that culture change? I mean, was there a moment in time where you're like, okay, we're moving in the right direction? Because in that interview I saw earlier, you're like, we're kind of a 500 program for a long time and all that. Where did the light go off in your mind that said, hey, we're ready to challenge for a state title?
I've been at Simley coaching now for 12 years, and the previous head coach did a great job of starting the tradition of understanding what it takes to win. We just weren't quite there. And when I had the opportunity to take over, I just told our kids from day one, don't be afraid to be great. Don't be afraid to be excellent. I think that we were okay, like you said, with being 500. We were okay with being mediocre. And I said, don't be afraid, guys. You've got it in you. If you play together, we have what it takes. I was fortunate to have a phenomenal first senior class back in 2019. Those guys really bought into the idea. They worked together. They brought each other up rather than putting each other down. And that kind of started the ball rolling, so to speak. And then this year's senior class, I mean, I saw it last year in these guys when they were juniors. They didn't quit. They didn't give up. They had that heart that you look for in high school football players who aren't always the most talented, but they have that heart in them. And this year, we challenged them a lot in practice. We challenged them in the summer, went to a team camp and competed at a high level. And every day in practice, we put them in competition type situations where they got to compete against each other for, whether it's less laps at the end of the practice or kind of that bragging rights that they look for. But it seemed to pay off. They pushed each other, and after one or two games, putting up the points that we did and holding the other team's offense like we did on defense, I knew we had something special. These guys banded together. They trusted each other. They loved each other, and it was starting to roll early on.
Talk a little bit about the staff and putting your staff together. One of the things I love about high school football is so many times, right? You've got guys that played for their high school team and go out and do whatever it is, and all of a sudden they're back there coaching. Tell me about the makeup of your staff, what you did to bring people together. What are the things you look for when you're bringing guys in to be a part of a winning culture and all that? Do you have a couple of mantras you have along the way?
It's funny. I would say of my 15 guys, I think 11 or 12 are former Simley players. That's one of the big things I look for is guys that care about the program and guys that care about the kids they're coaching. As you know, in high school sports, we don't get paid to coach. We're here because we love the sport and we love what we're doing. And they have to really care about the players. If they feel like they can't do that, then I can find somebody else. They have to. That's kind of my biggest thing is developing relationships with young men and pushing young men to be great and develop them for something better in their lives. And the guys that I have are phenomenal. They're all, for the most part, except for I think one, I coached them when I was here at Simley, and so I've seen that development in them. I know their families. I know what they've come from, and I know what great young men they're becoming themselves, and I wanted them to be great mentors for our kids, and that's kind of what I look for. Are you passionate about the sport? Do you care about the players you're going to coach, and are you willing to be a positive mentor in these young men's lives?
Yeah, talking with Chris Mensen, Simley High School, the Minnesota Vikings Coach of the Year, finalist for the Don Shula Award here on the NFL Play Football podcast. Coach, you mentioned you were an assistant there before you got the head job 4 years ago. You mentioned that you coached a lot of these guys. So that sounds to me like you got a pretty young staff there, and I was just curious how beneficial that is. I mean, I told you, I'm 62 years old, so it's becoming a young man's game, right? Is that the same thing in high school football, that you need that connectivity? Some younger guys out there that have that youth and enthusiasm, and of course the connection that you said to the program.
I sure think it helps. The energy level that's at our practice is phenomenal. I remember starting off when I was 24 years old and hip and hopping around and having fun with the guys, and I haven't changed much. If you ask our players, if you ask our coaches, I'm probably the one that has the highest energy, but these younger guys match it, and they're able to come to practice. They connect very well with the young players that we have, and they're able to develop that relationship in a great way. And that is to say that we also need some of those guys who have a little more experience as well. We've got a couple guys on staff who are a little older, and they bring just a different perspective as well. I think you need a good balance of that young and old on the staff, and if you can find that balance, you can have a great positive effect on the kids.
And when did when did it come to your mind that, coaching was something you wanted to do? I see in your background that you grew up in Iowa. You played a lot of different sports for, I think, 12 letters I saw in the Vikings news release about you. Where did the idea come that you wanted to be a coach? And the kind of a two-part question then, because I always like that we borrow in football, right? There's no original offense or defense, right? We all borrow. So I'm sure there's some coaches along the way that have impacted you in the profession. So when did it dawn on you, and who are some of the guys that made an impact and you kind of mimic as you go through your career?
It didn't really dawn on me until I kind of fell backwards into my position. I started off outside of college working for a small charter school in Twin Cities here, and they were just starting a football program. We didn't even compete in the MSHSL, the state football league. We had to kind of play different smaller teams around the area. But I was willing to help out because I was passionate about the sport and I wanted to see the sport grow. And after my first taste of coaching at that charter school, I felt like this is something I could do long term. At that time, I was still trying to play ball as well. I was playing semi-pro football here in the Twin Cities, trying to get a look at a tryout somewhere, realizing that I may be past the prime and understanding that coaching might be the best way I can still experience football and give back a little bit. And truthfully, I think that passion I have came from, like you said, a lot of the coaches along the way. I know some that come to mind are Coach Miller, Coach Silvers, and Coach Haydenfeld back at Simley High School in Iowa. Those three men really shaped my life. I mean, they are phenomenal leaders. They were unbelievable mentors for me. Coach Kevin Miller has led Solon to 4 state championships. His son is actually playing at North Dakota State. They play for a national championship this weekend, and he's just a phenomenal guy. He's someone that I communicate with often, and he and I chat about life, family, faith, and football all the time, and he's just a great guy. I'll also say that my college coaches, Coach Glenn Mason and Coach Mitch Browning, had a lot to do with where I'm at today as well. Playing for the Gophers was an unbelievable experience, and I was surrounded by some amazing football minds, and I learned a lot more, I think, technically about the game than I ever did playing the game. So that was kind of fun to be around as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about too, and I noticed this in the Vikings news release about you being their coach of the year, is you were academic All Big Ten when you were at the University of Minnesota there, 08 and 09. So as we turn our attention to some of the players, tell me about your approach to making sure that student stands out in student athlete.
Well, as you know, I'm a teacher as well, and one of the things we discuss at the beginning of the year is the importance of education. At some point in everyone's life, playing football is going to end. That's just a fact of life. You will not be able to play football your entire life, but you'll be a professional in whatever you choose to be, for the rest of your life. And so we focus a ton on academics. We do weekly grade checks. I have access to those to their grades online, and we can discuss that. If kids get behind, I try to meet with them, and we discuss kind of what can we do to get them back on track. I meet with the teachers that, if they have any issues arise in the school. Being in the school has been a huge benefit for me, and I think the emphasis just comes in the fact that we push our guys. It's great to be an okay student, but if you can excel and be a tremendous student, well, then your opportunities to play at the next level can go up too.
Chris Mensen on the line, the Vikings Coach of the Year, Simley High School state champs in 4A, and we can't get every young man's name in on this podcast, but I want to get some in here because you talked earlier about you had some good leadership coming into the year. I'm sure that paid off because you were trailing Hutchinson in the 4A championship game, and I think I read 14 points in about a 2-minute and 38-second span in the fourth quarter to pick up the championship 34-24 win. So let's get some of the kids in there that were leaders for you, whether it was on the field, off the field, combination of everything. Who were some of the young men that brought Simley its first state football championship?
I think the first 4 that come to mind are my captains, my senior captains. Each one of them played multiple years for me and had huge impacts on the field. Caden Renslow was our quarterback, 2-year starter, heady kid, tough kid, took over that state championship game. He ran for 2 touchdowns and threw for 2 as well, and just had a really gritty performance. Our running back was Gavin Nelson, another senior leader. He was a 4-year starter for us. He's actually going to go on and wrestle for the University of Minnesota. We mentioned wrestlers. This kid is one of the toughest kids I've met in my coaching career. But he's also one of the greatest, down-to-earth kids as well. He's a yes coach, no coach kind of a kid. You ask him to run through the wall, he'll ask you how many walls. He's that kind of a kid. Tavion McCoy was kind of our all-everything. He was a receiver, a running back. He actually had a pick 6 to seal the game in the championship game. Just had some phenomenal plays down the stretch. Was a big play threat for us. And then David Goggins was a defensive starter for us for 2 years. And he actually caught 2 big catches and had an interception and a fumble recovery in the state championship game as well. So all 4 guys, phenomenal players, great student athletes, and great leaders off the field as well.
And let's talk about not the award itself. I'll save that question for last for you because it is a team award, right? A partnership between you, your staff, the players, the administration, and all that. But what I wanted to talk about, and we said it at the top, we're traveling the country talking to all the Don Shula nominees here as we head toward the award at the Pro Bowl. And I wanted you to talk about, and I know the Vikings do so much. I mean, the state championship games are at U.S. Bank and all that. What does it mean to you as the coach of a program to know that the Vikings are reaching down and doing all they can to promote the sport, promote the profession, all those sort of things?
It's so cool. I mean, obviously the Vikings, watching the Vikings play on Sundays is like, the pinnacle of football at times. But to see that they're reaching down and they want to involve the younger levels is a really, really amazing feeling. And obviously, like you said, I'm unbelievably humbled to receive this award. But I think that to see them going into the high schools and putting them on a pedestal is kind of a big deal, and it makes football even more fun for those kids who are looking to play, or younger kids who are thinking about playing. I think it's another opportunity to build our sport in that way.
And it's highly unusual around America for not only the championships to be played in a pro stadium, but you guys play the state semis there. So what was it like for you and your staff to be sitting there calling plays and trying to win championships just like that team, like you mentioned, is playing on a Sunday?
It was amazing. It obviously walking into that stadium was the feeling was second to none. You walk in and it's a phenomenal stadium to begin with. It's when you look out, you can see the skyline on the one side of the field outside the windows, and it was just a very, very neat place to play. But at the same time, I'm trying to impart on our players, it's just another football field. We got a job to do. We've got to stick to our game plan and not let the lights get too bright, so to speak. But it was we all took a second to look and just take in the awe that is U.S. Bank Stadium. And to be able to play there twice, obviously semifinals and the finals was a very, very special thing.
Yeah, it's very unusual that any state plays in a pro stadium, on back-to-back weeks, going for a championship and then playing for the championship itself. So we're at that point. And I always joke this is time to put in a little coach speak here, right? I already gave you a little bit of the lead. It's a team honor and all that, but it is your name on there. You are the guy that I'm interviewing right now. What does it mean to you to win this award and also have your name bandied about with the greatest of them all, Don Shula?
It's unbelievable. It's really hard to put into words. Obviously I would not be here without my amazing staff, my players, the administration, like you said, all of those young men and coaches involved put me in this position, and I couldn't be more thankful. And to be on the same, on the same piece of paper, it's just it's a really, really neat experience. I still feel like I'm a pretty young coach at 36 years old, and I've got a lot of coaching ahead of me, and to know that this is something I can kind of hang my hat on is a pretty neat deal, and I'm very, very honored to be listed in this nomination.
Well, it's fun to talk to all of you guys, all 32 winners, because you all are winners. Everybody should get a Don Shula Award. Like you said, you guys don't make a lot of money and all that, but, from my standpoint, having been around the game for coming up on 50 years at this point, I started when I was 14. I say this all the time, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for what you do for these young men and for the schools and the communities. It's so important, and we just appreciate you for doing what you do for the young men out there and young ladies. A lot of girls playing the game now too. So congratulations and thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
Jeff, thank you. I really appreciate you bringing this all to light. It's awesome to see more and more publicity for the high school sports because, obviously NFL and college get a lot of it, but high school is a neat place to be as well. So thank you for all your hard work. We really appreciate it as well.
Thank you. That's the NFL Play Football Podcast. Coaches, don't forget to check out playfootball.nfl.com for some great resources to help you improve in the coaching profession. I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and you've been listening to the NFL Play Football Podcast.